passion for her subject. Her current obsession was poetry. She spent hours in the lightroom thinking of fancy words for sea and clouds. I mean, poetry, for God's sake, fumed Benny. Cat, bat, and mat. What was the point of it? If you want to look at the sea, go over to the window and have a look. If you want to describe it, buy a camera. All this sorrowful waves and angry clouds bit was for people who were useless at hurling and therefore had meaningless lives. Like, for instance, his little brother George, a.k.a. the Crawler. He was his mother's boy, all right. Sitting out on the rocks communing with nature. Benny threatened to let his boot commune with George's backside if he had to listen to any more poems. His latest act was poetic sentences. Whatever the little Egypt said had to rhyme, and he refused to answer at all until he thought of a good one. George, come in for your tea. I can't wait for my plate. Shut up with all that poetry stuff, will ye? I must rhyme all the time. I'm warning you. You see that fist? If pain I feel, I will squeal. Enough to drive a person mental. At least you could be certain there'd be no sign of the little pest at the hurling match. Georgie considered sport in general to be the pastime of savages. He who hurls is a churl. Benny wasn't sure what a churl was, but one day he'd find out, and then, crawler beware. The Duncaders were sitting on a famine wall, chewing hay and kicking cowpats, among other wooler occupations. Benny flattened his cowlick and ambled over, nonchalantly hopping a slither on his hurley. How's she cutting there, men? He said, using the vernacular. Shaw, boy, that's a nice stick you have there. Sure, it's a grand bit of wood, said Benny, really laying on the accent. A big, massive barn of a chap stood up. Benny swallowed. He'd thought the fella was already standing. Holy God, Podey, you're after sprouting. Podey was only 14, a year older than Benny himself, and already the size of a round tower. Must be all them bales of hay you're throwing around. S'pose? Podey hefted a hurley the length of a telephone pole. Jagged nails poked out of the rusty bands at its base. There was a dark stain on it that looked suspiciously like blood. I'm on your team, am I? Said Benny. Suppose? Benny swallowed a relieved sigh. Good stuff. Are we right then, or what? He climbed over a steel gate. The struts were drooping like an old clothes hanger from the passage of a million others too lazy to open the catch. The surface of the pitch left a lot to be desired. There seemed to be a bit of a fairy fort in the centre of the field, and the odd sheep was searching for edibles among the scutch. Ah, here, Podey, you can't even see the other goal. Would you boys ever get your act together? A bit tough for ye, is it, Tony? The voice came from below his sightline. Benny glanced down. What appeared to be a pixie was glaring up at him. The creature spoke again. I told you, lads. No guts. Benny would have spluttered a denial if he hadn't been afraid of a fairy curse or something. Then the pixie took off her woolly hat and flicked her hair out of her eyes. God, said Benny. What? Said the pixie. Nothing, muttered Benny. What was he going to say? I'm sorry, young lady, but I mistook you for a mythological creature. Benny may not have been Mr. Millennium, but he was no Gom. Well, let's get the show on the road then, said the pixie, twirling a midget hurley like some kung fu baton. Fine by me. Sure you don't want to scamper off home for a helmet and some pads? Keep it up now. Benny just knew his cowlick was standing at attention. And what? There's no ref here, boy. Benny rolled his eyes skyward.